afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Where are you speaking from? Looks like NPA. Are you from the 73rd RR?
Yes, sir.
Good, good, good. So, this is your second attempt?
Yes, sir.
पहला अटेम्प्ट में ही आप आईपीएस पा लिए?
Yes, sir.
Very good, यार. You're a lucky man. The youngest man in your batch, 73rd RR में आपसे कोई young है क्या? Younger है?
Sir, I'm one of the youngest. One person is 1 month younger than me in the batch.
Okay, okay. Good, good. Matter of, is your father still working in Doordarshan as Deputy Director General?
Yes, sir.
So he is also relatively young. So he also joined very young. And you are originally from Prayagraj.
Yes, sir.
Tripurari. What is the meaning of Tripurari?
Sir, Tripurari, basically, it is the name of Lord Shiva. So there is a mythological story behind this name that Tripurari, sir, in Sanskrit, it means Tripur plus Ari. Tripur means the three forts and Ari means enemy. So there is a mythological story of how Lord Shiva, he defeated the three demons who were living in the three forts.
Okay, okay. Right then. So I will now hand you over to the former Chief Secretary of Telangana State, Dr. M.G. Gopal. He will ask a few questions, and after that, 3 more members of the panel will ask a few questions. Towards the end, I'll come back. Is it okay?
Sure, sir. Thank you, sir.
Dr. M.G. Gopal.
Yes, sir. Yes. So, Mr. Tripurari, can you hear me clearly?
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. Good. Having done, engineering in IIT and had a cushy life in Delhi, did you at any point of time during this training period in NPA feel that you should get out of it and no more?
Sir, there were moments where I was, it was very much challenging, sir. Especially, sir, I have always have a fear of heights in my entire life. But here at NPA, sir, we were made to do rock climbing, and there we have an artificial wall also from which we have to do rappelling. So yes, sir, there were moments where I felt very much that should I continue with the training or not. But now, sir, having gone it for more than 6 months, now I'm very happy.
So who consoled you? With whom did you share your agony?
Sir, my friends, my batchmates, 3 or 4 of them.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Now, IIT Delhi filed a case against Delhi Metro Rail Corporation sometime back. Are you aware of that?
Sir, I'm aware. By finality, I'm not aware of the decision, but yes, sir, I'm aware of. Sir, it was yes, sir. Sir, so I think the Horse Cars Metro Station, initially the DMRC had given the advertisement contract to FITG. So the station was named FITG IIT. Right. And it was against the dignity of IIT Delhi.
Okay. Why do you think DMRC has co-branded it?
Pardon, sir?
Why did DMRC co-branded that station as FITG IIT? Why did they give that name to that station?
Sir, I'm not exactly aware, but I think they might have invited a tender, and then FITG in that advertisement contract, they might have gotten the bid.
All right.
So that might be the reason.
What do you think are the sources of revenue for a metro rail?
Yes, sir. Sir, the sources of revenue, sir, one is obviously the passenger, from the passenger tickets. That is a very important source.
Yes.
Then, sir, second is utilization of its properties, giving some space to restaurants and shops.
Yeah.
So earning revenue from them. Then, sir, advertisement is another important component.
So you got it. You got it. So they wanted to make money from FITG through advertisement. All right. Good.
Yes, sir.
Good. Now, you know that UP has one district, one product scheme, and they give assistance. What is the product that your district has been selected for promoting?
Sir, Prayagraj has Moonj grass baskets and special Moonj products. So it is Moonj. Yes.
Good. What type of assistance is given by the government to the entrepreneurs?
Sir, the funding is related to all the forward and backward linkages, like access to the markets, some concessional finance, give all other facilities also, sir.
Yeah, skill development.
Skill development, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, tell me, if a city's name has to be changed,
Yes,
like
sir.
Allahabad's name has been changed as Prayagraj, what is
Yes,
the
sir.
procedure to be followed?
Sir, the procedure is that the state government has to get a NOC from MHA, Ministry of Home Affairs, and then the state government publishes it in its gazette, I think.
What about change of name of a state? What procedure has to be followed? Any idea?
I think, sir, that has to be done through the parliament of the state, of the entire state.
Okay, good.
Yes, sir.
Now, the name of Allahabad has been changed as Prayagraj, but the name of Allahabad University still remains. Why is that the name of university has not been changed?
Sir, one of the reasons might be that Allahabad University carries a huge legacy with it. The alumni, the kind of alumni it has produced, and it was also known as Oxford of the East at one point of time. So it has a certain brand value. The name itself carries a lot of weight. So that is why they might not have changed it.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, good. Now, sometime back, the Vice Chancellor of Allahabad University, some lady, she complained about the disturbance that, she faced at the time of early morning due to azan prayers in the mosques. Are you aware of the complaint made by her?
Sorry, sir, I'm not aware.
You're not aware. Okay, doesn't matter. Now, Namami Ganga is one of the prestigious programs of Union government, and they have been spending some money for quite a number of years. Now, why do you think the situation has not improved substantially? And are you aware of any special measures being taken to improve it now?
Sir, on the first part, sir, I think that the situation is improving. As sir, I'm not exactly aware of the latest data, but the last data which I saw, sir, that the reports in the media was that in many locations, the BOD and all the water quality related parameters, they are improving. In many stretches of the Ganga, they have already improved. Regarding, sir, why the other part, that why it has not improved, the reasons might be that the Ganga is a very long river, and we have to incentivize the industries to create the common effluent treatment plants. So that they have to be nudged. So sometime back, sir, in Kanpur, there was a ban on these industries. So then the industries, there was a lot of issue of unemployment also. So the issue is, sir, many-fold of not only cleaning the river, but employment to the local people and those things. Then, sir, the last part of the question, that what it has new so that it can be more successful. Yes, sir. Sir, so the previous I think the Ganga Action Plan of the previous Rajiv Gandhi government, it had certain drawbacks, sir. Like the standalone effluent treatment plants were created away from the main industries. So they were of no use. So this time the government is saying that that all the district magistrates have been advised to focus on the locations of the plant as well. Then, sir, this time, I think in 2016, they notified a special purpose vehicle. Because earlier, sir, the cleaning was in the hands of the states. Now they are planning a special purpose vehicle with PPP model, hybrid and HAM model, so that it can have better outcome.
So is there maintenance for such a number of years built into this structuring of the contract of the SPV with the STP builder?
Sir, sorry, sir, all the exact details of the contract I'm not aware, but it's in PPP mode, sir.
Yeah, but PPP mode, what is important? Is creation of an asset important or running it is more important?
Sir, both are important, the creation as well as running it.
Yes. Yeah, but historically, the STPs were created by the union government, but the municipalities did not take the responsibility of running because it costs money. So yes, now the new thing is that SPV is created, which is being given the responsibility to not only get them constructed through the BOT model, hybrid annuity model, but also maintain for 15 years.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
That brings us some hope. All right, good.
Sir.
Now tell me, what is this insolvency and bankruptcy code?
Sir, insolvency and bankruptcy code was brought by the union government in 2016 to provide an exit mechanism to various companies in India, because entry in business was okay in India, but exit was a major issue. So if a company, sir, it faces some financial stress, either we can have restructuring of the company or liquidation with the IBC, insolvency bankruptcy code.
So which is the structure that is created for this purpose to settle these resolution issues or liquidation issues?
So National Company Law Tribunal has been created for companies, and Debt Recovery Tribunal for individuals.
Very good, very good. Now, you would have noticed that the land records in several parts of the country, particularly the rural areas, the title given to the farmers is not supposed to be a conclusive title.
Sir.
So, are you aware of the problems with giving conclusive title to the farmers in the rural India?
Sorry, sir.
Okay. Now, what is net metering?
Yes, sir. Sir, net metering is a new concept. Because now we are also incentivizing rooftop solar energy to consumers. So the concept is that a person can produce rooftop solar at his house, and then the energy which he produces, that would be subtracted from the net energy usage of his, and he'll have to pay the bill only for the extra amount.
Okay. Now, regarding resource mobilization by the states, there is an FRBM Act, and the states are allowed to borrow up to certain percentage of the FRBM Act. Now, the limits have been increased because of Corona and the states' problem of revenues. Associated conditionalities are also there. So, tell me, what is FRBM and what are these associated conditionalities which, on fulfillment of which, the states can borrow additional money?
Sir, FRBM Act is basically, it means the Fiscal Responsibility and Budget Management Act. I think, sir, it was initially brought in 2003. Then later on, some years back, the N.K. Singh committee further reformed it. And there are certain targets, sir, that this much fiscal deficit, it should be, within certain years, we have to bring it down to it. Earlier, it was 3.1% by some year, but due to COVID, sir, extraordinary situation was there. So it has been extended. Sir, the extraordinary conditions can be also that if reform is undertaken in economy, or there is force majeure. There are certain conditions. Exactly, sir, all of them are not aware.
Okay, all right. Yes. Now, what is the corporate social responsibility mandate given to the corporate sector, and which companies have to spend compulsorily on CSR?
Sir, 2% of the profits they have to spend on social activities, CSR. Exactly, sir, which companies are notified? I'm sorry, I'm not aware.
All right. If you are posted as a district magistrate and if you are asked to liberally use blockchain technology in sectors of your choice in a district, in which sectors would you like to use?
Sir, as a district magistrate, sir, I think land reforms, sir, giving titles to people, that would be one of my priority areas. But, sir, permit me to quote one article here. I was reading one article recently. So it was, yes, sir, it was written in that the major issue with this is that in the IT Act of 2000, in the digital signatures, the digital signatures on property document is not valid in India. So that is why in India, we have had many MOUs which say that we'll bring blockchain technology in land records, but they have not gone very far. Because in the IT Act of 2000, this land titling, the digital signature on land records is not still valid. So we need to amend the act also.
So, but do you think about it and tell me, do you mean to say that by just bringing in this facility of digital signature by Tahsildar or SDM, you will be able to give titles to the people, or is there something else associated with it? Survey?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Definitely. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All those things also.
Registration of documents.
Sure. Yes, sir.
Whether registration transfers the title or it only transfers some document to somebody.
Yes, sir. All these things, sir. Adequate measurement of land. Yes, sir. Yes,
so
sir.
if blockchain technology is used, one is digital signature facility. What else? Where all do you have nodes fixed up?
Sir, apart from land records, sir, agriculture, we can use blockchain technology in agriculture.
Okay.
Supply chain management.
Good. Now tell me your experience as an NSS volunteer. Which camps did you attend?
Sir, mainly our work was in the campus itself, doing volunteering in the campus, volunteering works, teaching outside the campus. We used to teach, sir, in nearby Munirka Basti. Then we used to create awareness. We had a long campaign on drug abuse, on substance abuse. We organized a campaign in our college, as well as we sensitized the students. So then we also had a blanket distribution drive, sir, once.
Okay, good. Now, before I pass on to my co-panelists, tell me, in the recent past, there were some news items about district magistrates which received adverse notice of people at large. They thought that DM should not have functioned like this. or maybe good news also about some DMs. Have you heard of any such incidents in the newspapers? Have you seen?
Sir, some good work of certain DMs I'm aware of, developmental works, but this particular news which you are saying that people criticize the district magistrate, sir, I'm not aware of which news, sir, you are. I'm not able to figure out which news, sir, you are.
All right. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Vivek Garu.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Hello, Shashwat. Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah. Now, tell me, as an anthropologist, how to distinguish, a tribe from the so-called, citizen of the mainstream. What characterizes it?
Sir, so first of all, sir, there are, even in anthropology itself, there are a lot of debate between anthropologists, like what is the exact definition of a tribe. Still, they have a lot of disagreements, sir. But the major highlights of a tribe, sir, is that it has certain territoriality, it has some predatory. Then in India, intertribal conflict is not a feature of our Indian tribes. This is a criteria, sir, given by the Majumdar and Madan, which is the most famous one. Then, sir, it is said that they have a common language. They have some particular institutions like dormitory institutions. So these kinds of markers are there for the tribe. Yes, sir. For a tribe.
Now, tell me, what is the takeaway, as a engineer who studied anthropology? Now, what difference has it made to Shashwat as a prospective, civil administrator?
Sir, I think first of all, it has widened my horizons. I have become more tolerant to other cultures, and I don't judge other cultures. So one of the major tenet of anthropology is cultural relativism. That we grow up in a certain way, we think our culture is the best. But anthropology, reading so many cultures and in their particular context. So this principle of cultural relativism, sir, I find very dear. And I think, sir, as an administrator, wherever I go, even if I'm administrating people who are having a different culture than mine, I'll be very happy and appreciative of their culture.
Will be more empathetic. Okay, good. Now I find that you are into something called Samvedi Society.
Yes, sir.
Is it Samavedi Society or Samvedi Society? What is it actually? It is quite an interesting term.
Sir, I think it must be Samvedi, but I am not very sure of the exact Hindi pronunciation.
What
Sir,
do you
Samvedi.
do there? What do you do there? I think you are some secretary,
yes, sir,
or something.
Sir, I'm member of the. I'm
Okay.
a member, sir. Yes, sir.
So,
Yes, sir.
do in that society?
Sir, so first of all, sir, this batch, sir, our batch, we have started a special initiative where all 155 probationers have been encouraged to mentor one children of our own staff. Here at NPS, sir, we have constables, head constables. So we are encouraging one probationer to at least mentor one child. And I'm also, sir, mentoring a particular child. So she is aspiring for UPSC, sir. She recently gave her board exams. So that I'm doing.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
No, I mistook it for Samavedi Society. So I was just wondering what is this Samavedi. Anyway, by the way, I'm sure you also know about Vedas, and of the 4 Vedas, what is Samaveda? What is it about?
Sir, I think it contains some songs and that aspect maybe. I'm not able to recall, sir, fully.
Okay.
Sorry, sir.
Yeah, you were somewhere near about that. Okay. That's all right. Now, as a perceptive reader and an observer of society, these days, the main discourse in India is to find greatness in the past. In everything that was, that is past, there is a lot of greatness is seen. Okay. Now, I also find that you are third in science talent test. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Now tell me, with your scientific outlook and also being an engineer, which is entirely based on science and all the methodologies of science. Now, do you think this revival of the past is it a positive direction for a society to move in?
Sir, first of all, sir, every society, sir, it always tries to find some glory in its own past because that makes it proud. So we are a civilizational nation, sir. We have had a continuity for thousands of years. So I think, sir, that revival of good things of the past, maybe like some certain values like respect for elders, respect for women, being more empathetic, being more sensitive to animals, not doing cruelty, which is a part of Indian civilization. As far as, sir, these values are concerned, it is a step in the good direction. But totally, sir, we should not go into revivalism mode that trying to justify the past even for its bad things. Like for example, in India, there has been a history of caste-based discrimination in the past. So if even we now try to justify maybe untouchability or some caste systems, sir, that thing should not be done. Good things of the past are that we can praise and even incorporate in our daily lives.
Good. Now, I also find that in recent times there has been a tendency, more towards uniformity, and which is being say given precedence over unity. Okay. Now, if you were to take a call, will you take a call in favor of uniformity or unity?
Sir, personally, I will take a call towards unity because diversity, sir, we should. This is a very unique feature of our society, and if whenever, so wherever in all parts of the world there are diverse cultures, it overall leads to better descent, the growth of a nation as a whole. So I would, sir, prefer unity rather uniformity.
Now, India, we generally say is cooperative federalism, but in
Yes, sir.
recent times, there are certain resentments, certain kind of disappointments on the part of certain states on account of what they perceive as centers overreach. Okay. Now,
Sir,
can you cite certain specific instances of these instances of overreach as a very perceptive observer of society?
sir, sir, I can speak of certain instances, whether they are overreach or not, sir. In certain cases, the matters are sub judice, so I cannot say with finality. For example, sir, recently the new farm laws were passed. So agriculture is a state subject, but the center used trade and commerce in the concurrent list to pass the farm laws. Now, sir, the matter is sub judice, so I cannot say whether it was overreach or not, but that is a friction point. Then, sir, when it comes to the CBI, sir, many states have withdrawn their general consent. They think that CBI coming on investigating cases or they on their territory, that at time that they are not in favor of that. They want to empower the state police. That is, sir, another major issue. Uh, these things.
Okay, yeah. Now, in this context, tell me, how is this, the recent government of India's move to create a department of cooperation? How do you see it?
Sir, I think that so far as it goes, so far as it promotes cooperatives in the country, incentivizes them without encroaching on the state's territory, it is a welcome move. But if it encroaches, sir, then there might be an issue. But so far as promotion is concerned, it should not be the case.
Are you aware of the recent Supreme Court verdict on this issue?
Yes, sir. I think they struck down a constitutional amendment because it was not ratified by the states. The 97th, I think, sir, constitutional amendment, which gave constitutional status to cooperative societies. It provided certain governance structure of the cooperative society.
Was it struck down in toto or partially? Or... Okay.
Sorry, sir.
Yeah, doesn't no problem. Now, in the recently concluded parliament session, as many as 20 bills were passed. I think
Yes, sir.
perhaps it's a very good sign that we are a vibrant democracy and the legislature is doing its work. But there are also critics, but I find the criticism quite amusing. Have you also felt it that way?
Sir, certain aspects of criticism might be unwarranted, sir. But certain points like, sir, that there should be more discussion on bills. More bills should be referred to committees rather than just passing them without discussion. I think those things are valid, sir. We should have as much debate and as much discussion and as much deliberation on our bills and then pass them. Some aspects, sir, it might be false, or they might be false criticism also.
What is this vehicles scrappage policy?
Yes, sir. Sir, so vehicle scrappage policy has been brought very recently by the government. Mm-hmm. It aims to create a circular economy, sir, as far as the automobile sector is concerned. So many parts of the vehicles, sir, they are recyclable, like the metals, even other components also. So it tries to create an entire structure with a private partnership mode. So it says that vehicles, commercial vehicles over 15 years and the private vehicles over 20 years, they would be required to go a fitness test. And if they fail that test, they would have to scrap they can either scrap the vehicle or keep it at home, but they cannot bring it on roads. If they don't scrap it, then the registration fee has been hiked manifold. So there is a disincentive, and people who go for the scrapping, sir, they will be incentivized with. Yes, sir.
Now, in this context, what is the role of electric vehicles, and in spite of very clear advantages of an electric vehicle over conventionally driven fossil fuel vehicle, why is it that electrical vehicles have not become very popular?
Sir, the major issue is with relation to the charging infrastructure. People find it more convenient to buy a fossil fuel based vehicle because they can go up to long distances. They have the petrol pumps. But electric vehicles, sir, we don't have still very much. We have not been able to develop a charging infrastructure.
Now, tell me, in the context of pandemic, quite a few, these casual laborers and also those, who stand by the side of the road and also, sell, wares, small businesses. And on account of lockdown, they were forced to stay indoors. And then quite a lot of them, are now faced with problems of earning livelihood, right? Now,
yes,
in the context of this, the government has come up with a particular initiative. What is that initiative? And if someone comes to you and asks for, how to make best use of that initiative, what would be your advice?
Sir, PM Garib Kalyan Yojana, sir, I think that is that the scheme, sir? PM Garib Kalyan Yojana.
Have you not heard of initiative to help the so-called street vendors?
Sir, 6,000 that pension scheme for street vendors, sir.
Have you heard of Swamitwa? Swamitwa scheme. Anyway, okay.
Sorry, sir.
Okay, doesn't matter. Now, how do you actually decide or identify someone as an urban street vendor? And
sorry, sir,
all the more, as a police officer, let's say, you find that everywhere they spring up, and then they also cause all kinds of problems of traffic congestion, and they could also be nuisance to the general public and all that. So how do you decide that whether someone is legally permitted to carry on business as a street vendor and someone who is not legally authorized to carry on that type of business?
Sir, my estimate is, sir, that there might be some pass system given by the government, some ID tags that they might have registered with some government department, and
we'll come back. No,
thank you, sir.
Yeah, you are also into teaching underprivileged children, and you also said this Samvedi society and all that. Now, in the context of pandemic, what has been the impact of COVID on children's education?
Sir, the major impact, sir, is that the offline classes, they have stopped. So we have shifted to online classes. But still, sir, as is coming out in various media reports, that still there is a huge digital divide in India. Many students are in rural India. They don't have access to mobile phones. So not even internet, even mobile phones. So that is, sir, a major problem. Then, sir, coming to nutrition, the midday meal scheme has also not been able to run. So nutrition issues are also there. Child labor, sir, has increased in certain parts, sir.
Now, finally, now in the recently concluded parliament, among many other bills, a bill pertaining to what is called the Tribunals Reforms Bill was also passed.
Yes, sir.
Tell me, what are tribunals, and in the proposed this bill, what is sought to be reformed?
Yes, sir. Sir, so tribunals are quasi-judicial bodies. They might be notified under a particular act or to solve a particular purpose, and to ensure that the pendency in high courts is reduced, cases are solved at the tribunal level. Sir, the current bill has rationalized the tribunals. It has merged certain tribunals like film certification tribunal. It has merged, or I think abolished. I'm not exactly sure, but it has rationalized the number. The issue, sir, that was coming up was that there was some Supreme case in High Court or Supreme Court where they said that even the appeal to from the tribunal would lie in the High Court. So the matter of judicial pendency was not getting solved. Even with these tribunals, people used to go to the High Court, then even Supreme Court. That was issue. Secondly, sir, in Finance Act of 2017, the government had brought an appointment process for these tribunals. So in that, the Supreme Court had struck it down on the grounds that adequate representation to the judiciary has not been given in that appointment process. So I think they have also reformed this aspect. The appointment committee, they have notified it. Sir.
Good. That was interesting talking with you, Shashwat.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, sir.
My co-panelist will continue.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Shashwant.
Yes, sir.
Happy Independence Day.
Happy Independence Day to you as well.
Thank you. Shashwant, Allahabad is a very, very interesting place.
Sir.
You got the Allahabad pillar inscription, very famous pillar inscription.
Yes, sir.
What is speciality of that pillar inscription?
Sir, it was by Samudragupta, I think, the Allahabad pillar inscription, sir. Exactly, sir, I am not aware, sir, of what is... sorry, sir, I am not able to recall right now.
Okay. So Ashoka first started that?
Yes, sir, Ashoka and then Samudragupta also. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Any other person? One more famous personality.
Sir, I think might be Jahangir or someone, but not exactly sure, sir. Some Mughal.
Okay, okay. Shashwant, you are from Uttar Pradesh. Uttar Pradesh, you are from police department, but the police in Uttar Pradesh, so that doesn't go well. And one incident regarding that is called the Hathras incident. I think you are aware of that.
Yes, sir.
So tell us why this is taking place. Such type of incidents are taking place in Uttar Pradesh.
Sir, I have not gone in the field yet, but I have talked to many officers who are from the state. So they say that, sir, in Uttar Pradesh, the major problem is the lack of professionalism. That we have all the rules, we have the Supreme Court judgments, everything, but they are not being followed at the ground level. So we need to bring more professionalism in the police and ensure that they act as per the law and book who violate the law.
So Shashwant, you have used a word called professionalism. This is a wonderful word. Wonderful word. Sir. I want to know, how do you understand this word called professionalism? What exactly the professionalism?
Sir, in the context of police or general, sir?
In general.
Sir, in general, professionalism means adhering to strong work ethics, doing one's duty with all the standard operating procedures that are there, the mandate that is given, and the outcomes that we want to achieve. So
if you want to make it to a non, maybe a technical person, a very common person, you want to say this is what is meant by professionalism. So how can you say 1, 2, 3, like this, the ingredients are there, then that can be called as professionalism or else not. So what ingredients you can say going to make your professional our professionalism?
Yes, sir. Sir, so one ingredient would be that focusing on one's duty and not other superficial things. Focusing upon one's duty, that one is required to do. That is the major thing, sir. Having, sir, a no nonsense attitude, maybe that can also come under professionalism. Straight away accomplishing the task. Yes, sir.
So these are the ingredients. We can say that that's called professionalism. Why I ask this question is, in our bureaucracy, most of the people they complain is that the bureaucracy is not professional in their approach. So that's the reason I want to know from you, and let us have a discussion afterwards. Now moving on to your state again, sir asked about Namama Gange, but there is one person called Gurudas Agrawal. He was an environmentalist. In 2018, yes, he wrote a letter to the Prime Minister and he died in the fast. So he was raising many issues, and one among them is called the plastic, what I can say, the plastic waste that is being dumped into the Ganga. So now tell us what exactly the issue and what are the places where this is being dumped and how we can find a way out for this.
Sir, as far as I'm aware, sir, dumping plastic into Ganga River might be from individuals, from the non-point sources. Like some people, they perform certain rituals, then they might throw plastic. Certain errant industries might be throwing plastic, but sir, the government stand is, I think, that they are not encouraging this thing, and they want to ensure a ban on the practice.
Yeah. I think you might have heard about this Places of Worship Act 1991.
Yes, sir.
So in what context this act was passed and what are its implications? Now, it has come again in the limelight recently.
Yes, sir.
So what is the context with which this is associated? Please throw some light on this.
Sir, the context is that recently, I think some court in Varanasi or some other place, there was a judgment related to the Gyan Vapi mosque, that whether some Hindu remains are there in that mosque or not. Yeah. Some particular session court, some particular, I think, district court was giving some judgment. I'm not sure exactly which district court. So that is why this act came into the limelight. And so the Act, Places of Worship Act, says that the places of worship as they were there on 1947. After that, they cannot be changed. We cannot make historical claims and say that this was a maybe religious place of this particular community or that community. So they will remain as they were on after independence, sir.
So the judge is now, I think, going beyond the purview of his jurisdiction. What we call it the overreach. Do you think that he is now going for the overreach as far as this order is concerned?
Sir, I have not read the full order, sir, so I cannot say whether it's overreach or not, sir. Sorry, sir.
Sashwant, Uttar Pradesh government wanted to go for expressways. Their way is express connectivity for future. That is called the better future. So there are 4 expressways are coming in Uttar Pradesh, and one of the largest is, I think, the most important the expressway is the Ganga Expressway.
Yes, sir.
So now tell us what are the districts that are connecting, what is the length and what is the likely expenditure? Have we got an idea about this?
Sir, Ganga Expressway would run along the Ganga River. I think some districts are Prayagraj itself is one district. I think Meerut is a particular district, and it would all go all the way to eastern eastern UP, eastern Uttar Pradesh, sir. I think Ghazipur, sir, or Balia, sir. I'm not sure. Sorry, sir, I'm not exactly aware which particular place it would end. Okay. And length, sir, I am not aware of the exact length. And funding is, sir, in I think 1,000 crore something. Exactly, I'm not sure.
Okay, it's a big amount. Yes, coming to recently, our CJI expressed that lockup deaths. So lockup deaths are there more in, that means the deaths are more in the lockups, and is not happy with the police handling of this thing. Are you aware of this thing, and what is the basis why CJI is not happy with the police department.
Yes, sir. CJI, Shri Ramanna very recently said that this issue, sir, that you are pointing out. Sir, on the basis of which he might have said it is that, sir, we had media reports instances where it came out in the media that there was custodial torture, custodial violence. Sir, sometime back in Tamil Nadu, Tuticorin, father-son duo was beaten to death mercilessly by police officer. Action also happened in that case. So that was the context, sir. And other issues, other reports were also there. So that might be the context in which CJI said it.
Yeah, Government of India in Parliament on September 30th, November 2015, it laid down the statistics between 1st of April to the 30th of November 2015. It has given the statistics and they are very alarming. So that's one of the reasons why he has expressed that thing. Of course, by outside talk is one thing, but the facts are very important. So CJI cannot speak without facts.
Yes.
Anyway, this is one aspect. Coming to Delhi, recently we find there are two commissioners who are in a controversy. One is about the commissioner of Bombay, other is commissioner of Delhi. Police commissioners I'm talking about.
Yes, sir.
Are you aware of the controversies about this?
Sir, Delhi CP controversy, sir, I'm aware. Bombay, sir, sorry, sir.
Bombay, of course, he complained to the Supreme Court stating that.
Sir, yes, sir. Achha, Parambir Singh, sir, previous CP, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Names, of course, not necessary, but we talk about the objectively. So now tell us, what is wrong with the appointment and the behavior of these two commissioners?
Sir, as far as the appointment of Delhi CP was concerned of Shri Rakesh Asthana, sir, the issue that was being pointed out is that, sir, he only had very less time before retirement. So then, as per the Supreme Court guidelines of the Prakash Singh case, the minimum tenure of 2 years should be given and 6 months before retirement of that officer should be left. However, on the other hand, sir, the government stand is that they have already extended the tenure of the officer by 1 year. So 1 year, they extended the tenure. So 1 year tenure was remaining and then they appointed the officer. So, sir, that was the entire controversy. And the officers also was involved in some controversy previously in CBI. So that was another issue.
Now tell us, it may be legal. You can legalize the thing. But is it ethical to appoint a person who is rejected for the CBI director, but by giving a tenure of 1 year, it is, don't you think that this is going to demoralize the police force itself?
Sir, ideally, in every public appointment, the government should prefer that person who has the highest level of integrity, who has the least amount of controversy. That is the ideal which we should go for. So I feel, sir, that always we should try to achieve that ideal.
I can understand, Shashwant. Let us move on to the anthropology. So Vivek sir said when we talk about anthropology, tribals, and of course we are very much concerned with about the development of the tribals. Okay, so there are many steps were taken, but the situation is that the tribals are tribals, so their lot is not being improved. Now tell us, as a student of anthropology, should we intervene in the development of the tribals or should we leave them as they are? What is your view?
Sir, there are different approaches to tribal development. Sir, one is the isolation approach, sir, that we should leave them on their own. One is the assimilation approach, that we should totally intervene. But sir, the best approach might be the integration approach, where we encourage them to develop along their own geniuses, but give them the required facilities, the required ecosystem for development, the facilities. So, for example, sir, many parts of the country, the tribals, they have a history of making their own goods, like Mahua by the Chhattisgarh tribals, the Bastar tribals, the Gonds. So now the government has started a scheme to market the Mahua produced by them. So that kind of schemes, sir, where tribals are a stakeholder in their own development. We should give them the facilities, but we should not very much intervene in their culture. As a facilitator, sir, we should work.
Yeah. So what
Sir.
we are doing is some financially we are helping them to sell their products.
Yes,
sir. But what more important for us is the attitudinal development is very, very important.
Yes, sir.
Isn't it? So
Yes,
for that, should we leave them? So education is important, skill development is important. So what we are seeing is that we are now touching the peripheries, but we are not going into the deeper aspects of their development. Now, under these circumstances, what type of development we can extend to the tribals without hurting their sentiments? Is there any way for that?
Sir, the way, sir, would definitely, sir, be guided by the tribal Panchsheel of Sri Jawaharlal Nehru. Sir, that allow them, don't interfere too much, don't over-administer, support them. Sir, schemes like ashram schools, where they go to the school, and also side by side on the attitudinal aspect that you mentioned, sir, some curriculum which can broaden their horizon, and as along with they're having their having their roots in their own culture. So those kinds of things, sir, we can do, sir. Also, sir, recently, for example, I read, sir, in Odisha that during the COVID vaccination, like you were saying, changing the attitude because many tribals are reluctant to take vaccines. So in Odisha, the government, the administration took help of their own religious performers, like the medicine man, who convinced them that taking corona vaccine would give them the boon of the supernatural. So some kind of, sir, this kind of measure where we synchronize between their traditional institutions and also, sir, the attitude. In some ways we need to change their attitude, give them modern education also. So synchronizing, sir, both of them, sir.
Okay, I think you are into education and you are also love teaching. So in this context, Delhi has brought a beautiful educational curriculum. So can we think about such curriculum for the tribal people also?
Sir, the Delhi has brought happiness curriculum. But already, sir, has permitted to quote Sri Jawaharlal Nehru that we cannot say whether we are more happy or the tribals are more happy. So on this aspect, sir, in urban areas, we face this problem of depression and those things, but we cannot say whether the tribals, that is their major problem.
The way how you look at happiness, nobody can define what is happiness.
Yes, sir.
So the person who is looking from the other side think that other person is more happier.
Yes,
so
sir.
The question is not about whether we are going to bring happiness to them or not. But the question is the internal standard to see that by doing this, the people will be more happy because you are going to bring a very high quality to life for those people. So from that point of view, we are going to measure the happiness. Anyway, the last question which I would like to ask is about, are you aware of this Yuval Noah Harari?
Yes, sir.
So what is his contribution?
Sir, Yuval Noah Harari, sir, he has written many books. Today, he is one of the leading intellectuals of the world. Sir, he has written books like Sapiens, Homo Deus, 21 Lessons for 21st Century. Sir, he teaches at the Hebrew University of Israel. And he's a very leading intellectual, sir, of today's time.
Yeah, what is his theory on the human Homo sapiens?
Sir, essentially, sir, one of the major points that he makes is that humans, we are more successful than other species is because of what he calls imagined realities. That we have this ability to create imaginary concepts and then coordinate on the basis of that, connect on the basis of that. Like, for example, sir, even particular school, sir, it's an imaginary idea. Then we have brought it on the material level. We have created buildings and all. But this is an organized way of how people come together to teach, to study at one particular place. In the other species of animal kingdom, sir, this concept of imagined realities and communication, the symbolic communication that we have through language is not there. Yes, sir.
Yeah, in this respect, what is the relation between the Neanderthals and the Homo sapiens?
Yes, sir. Sir, so as far as relation is concerned, sir, earlier it was believed that the Neanderthals, after Erectus, then Neanderthals came, then Sapiens. But sir, today the modern hypothesis is that the Neanderthals, they are a different species compared to Homo sapiens because of certain features that, like, they had a muzzled face, they had occipital one, cranial capacity also, sir, it was higher in Neanderthal. The recent, sir, conclusions that we are different species, Neanderthal and Sapiens.
Yes.
Sir.
So this Neanderthals got disappeared because of one important cause. This is what now the recent discovery made by the anthropologists. Do you know the reason why the Neanderthals disappeared completely?
Sir, there are many theories that are given. Like one theory is that they had a very large brain to body size ratio. Like their cranial capacity was 1600 cc, whereas it is 1400 cc in humans. So, so they lived in very cold climate, and the food ability, etc. also, it was not there. So they could not sustain, because higher brain requires higher energy consumption also. Food that is rich in energy, so they could not sustain that.
A new theory has come. So very recently, maybe some 15 days back, that is widely circulated. So think about that and
sure, sir.
about that. So sure, Shashwant, it's very nice talking to you. And over to Somshekhar-ji.
Thank you, sir.
Very good afternoon, Shashwat.
Good afternoon, sir.
You know, one of the greatest sports persons of India hails from Prayagraj. He was very recently in some sort of a controversy. Are you aware of the controversy? What happened? Suddenly, you know, his name popped up, and especially in relation to sports.
Sorry, sir, I'm not aware of the controversies.
One of the greatest hockey players.
Sir, Mr. Dhyan Chand.
Yeah. What happened? You know, suddenly he's been remembered, and some controversy was there.
Sorry, sir, I'm not aware of the controversy, sir.
You know, this Rajiv Gandhi Khel Ratna Award was renamed after Dhyan Chand. Are you aware of it?
Sir, yes, sir. I think I read it in the news, sir. I saw the highlight.
Okay, but you are not fully aware about the controversy.
Yes, sir. I did not. Yes, sir. I did not read it fully, sir. Sorry, sir.
No problem. Now, what is the theme of the Independence Day that we celebrated today, the 75th year?
Sir, Atmanirbhar Bharat.
No. It has a special theme, and also, the government extended special invitation to a certain section of people and all that.
Okay, sir.
Okay, anyway, let's go to some other subject. Have you heard of the India Innovation Index 2021 report? Where India has been identified as the most innovative state. And the report brought out by the Niti Aayog.
Sorry, sir, I have not seen the report.
Okay. Now, this issue, the Pegasus spyware.
Yes, sir.
You must be familiar, because I think that part of what you should be, in the know of something about surveillance, and what is the controversy, and what are the the respective positions taken by the government and opposition. What are the key elements?
Yes, sir. Sir, so this Pegasus spyware attack, it recently happened. Many influential people in India, it was media reports highlighted that this spyware made by the Israeli group called NSO, it penetrated into their phones, and the attack was very much in the news because of certain features of this attack. Like it was a zero-click attack, sir. Like not even the users did not even click on particular link, but still the spyware could penetrate in their phone, and it was self-destructive. So the evidence also, I think, on the Android phones, it did not get any evidence. On the Apple phones only, they could get some evidence that this attack happened. So that was, sir, the news, sir, that Pegasus spyware was used for surveillance on certain people in India. Now, sir, the position that have been taken is that the opposition wants an inquiry into the Pegasus attack as to who was responsible for it. And the government's position is that they deny that any such attack has happened.
Okay, what is the legality of surveillance, and is this only surveillance or more? Because it's
yes, sir.
Perhaps you can do it, isn't it?
Sir, the surveillance in India, that is under the Telegraph Act of 1885 and then the new Telecom Rules of 2017. So we can intercept mobile phone data, the mobile calls, other things, provided we have a permission from the Home Secretary of the state or the center, or the orders of the Home Secretary of the state or center. Through that mechanism, sir, surveillance is allowed in India if we get an order from these authorities. But sir, the current issue of Pegasus spyware, as you rightly pointed out, it's more nuanced than simple surveillance, because sir, as per the IT Act of 2000, sir, the use of spyware is banned. It is illegal to use spyware. So hence, sir, the government has denied that there was any use of such Pegasus, but use of a spyware for surveillance, sir, that is a controversy that is coming up in news, that we might not be legally able to do it since it's not allowed under the IT Act 2000.
That has been challenged in the Supreme Court also by some petitioners. And
yes, sir.
in some countries, the investigation has also been ordered. So there is varying degree of response to this whole issue. And,
yes,
here also, I think some sort of surveillance has been done. So they say that, they're justifying it on some grounds of, earlier surveillance being done. But in this case, it is more of a hacking also that has taken place.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Seriousness is more.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
In going to your state UP, as part of the national mission, UP has one product, one district, or one district, one product.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Since 2018, it has been implementing. How has this helped, rural artisans or entrepreneurs or traditional craft or art? Has it given an impetus to some sort of industrial activity, export from UP?
Yes, sir. It has given impetus, because the schemes, it tries to create all the ecosystem through which they can develop their product as well as market them. So, sir, for example, the Bhadoi carpets, I think they are doing quite well. And other products are also there. In some districts, they have created very good facilities, linkages, even with online vendors, they've had a tie-up, the district administration. So, sir, progress is being made, and which is also reflected in the ease of doing business index. Last year, Uttar Pradesh had second ranking. So some reforms are being taken by the government in economic field.
What kind of aid is given, and how many people have been benefited by this scheme? You have any idea? Some number of entrepreneurs who have been helped in the last 2-3 years.
Sir, exact numbers, sir, I'm not aware. Sorry, sir.
Okay, that was nice talking to you, Shashwat.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Okay. So you are Shashwat, isn't it? That is permanent.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Not Shashwant. You are
Shashwat, sir.
Shashwat Tripurari Mishra. Okay. So I think we have taken almost 55 minutes to interview you, or even 1 hour. How long was the previous interview when you got into the IPS?
Sir, it was around 40 minutes, I think.
Rather long for UPSC board. Generally, they terminate the interview in about 25 minutes, because by then they would have come to some conclusion as to the personality, attitude, etc. Unless they found you very intriguing and unable to fathom out whether you are a complex creature, pro-government, anti-government, or carefully warding off all attacks, whatever it is. Now we'll conclude the mock personality test. There is no doubt that you will get into the IAS. I have absolutely no doubt whatsoever. However,
thank you so much, sir.
Your top material. You deserve about 215 or 275. But incidentally, how many marks did you get last time in the interview?
Sir, last time it was 179. 179, sir.
Maybe they tried their best to somehow give you, and some 1 or 2 members must have felt, no, this guy is pro-government or anti-government, whatever it was the answers. So I don't really know, because you're one of the best that we have interviewed. You are, I think, the 207th person that I am interviewing in the last 40 days. My colleagues have done a little more. They have done, I think, 214th or so. So we rarely come across somebody who is so well-informed and yet slippery as you are. And certainly you have great survival skills. So I really don't know why you got so low last time. Maybe there was some particular controversial question which either you answered very boldly or you avoided. I really don't know. Anyway, now when is the actual interview for you?
Sir, it's on 7th of September, sir.
Plenty of time, plenty of time. So I think you do get 1 or 2 newspapers to your room, isn't it? You are in which room of the Central IPS mess?
Sir, 210. And sir, newspapers, sir, we are not allowed to have in the rooms because of COVID. So I'm reading online, sir, only Indian Express.
Basai, you are a modern man. Indian Express is good. In fact,
yes, sir.
It is one of the few newspapers which gives reasonably anti-establishment views. Not that I encourage you to be anti-establishment. The fact is, India is now becoming some kind of a totalitarian state in that direction. So we need to know what is exactly happening and what are the views of the various stakeholders. See, we are public servants. Do you agree?
Yes, sir.
So public servants have to take decisions after hearing all the stakeholders, weigh the pros and cons, and eventually take a decision which is in accordance with the Constitution of India and the various rules applicable to that subject, and a decision which is in public interest.
Yes, sir.
That's very important. Now, I don't know, is your cadre already allotted?
Yes, sir, I've got home state. Sir, last time, sir, actually, I missed the IS by 1 mark, sir. My rank was 78. So it went till 77, sir. So I've got my home state. I'm the opener,
sir. In the IPS, in the 73rd batch, what is your rank?
Sir, I'm the opener, sir. 78.
Yeah, obviously.
Copper.
Sir.
Okay. No, there can be somebody like Vijay Kumar who got IAS but preferred IPS. I hope you know who Vijay Kumar is. Former DG CRP of 75 batch Tamil Nadu cadre.
Yes, sir.
He was the son of a police officer. He said, I would rather be the second generation police officer than the first generation IAS. Anyway, and he also was director NPA. He's a role model for several IPS officers.
Yes,
which is
sir,
mustache and Veerappan and all those things. Yes. Anyway, the only problem is such brilliant people like you enter the IPS in the UP and you are decimated. You're converted into a private servant of the chief minister and a licensed butcher. Totally. I don't know what happens to the IPS officers of Uttar Pradesh cadre. I hope you manage to escape it by entering the IAS. But once again, if you enter the IAS of Indian the UP cadre, then you will end up as much more, like that famous WhatsApp image, some cinema mein, pav chute hai na uniform mein. So, but I'm impressed with you. That's all I can say.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, sir.